Hello everyone, welcome to Synapse. I'm Dr. Troy Spurl. I'm here with Sue, our lovely patient today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about her journey in her health world. Before we get going, I'm going to read a little message here. Only God can turn a mess into a message, a test into a testimony, a trial into a triumph, and a victim into a victor. Nehemiah 8:10, do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. So we like to sit down and just talk with some of our patients that we've gotten to know and who've been through different things as far as their personal health. And so I want to thank you, Sue, for coming in today.
Sure.
And just a few questions to get started. First one, just tell us what brought you to Synapse.
Oh, it's probably 2 years ago where I just felt so tired, and I thought, well, maybe it's just a lack of sleep. You know, as we get older, things, you know, you kind of blame it on as you're aging, but I wasn't feeling any spark of energy at all, and then realized that my energy level was just, you know, very low, and also wasn't sleeping all night. I could sleep maybe 5 hours and that was it. I'd go to bed at 9 and wake up at 2. 9:30, wake up at 2:30. It was just always 5 hours. And so I thought, well, that maybe that's what is making me tired and low energy. I'm not getting enough sleep. But then as that progressed, I also began to have stomach issues. And I didn't know where those came from. I went to my doctor. We had 2 different ultrasounds done. And then she suggested maybe I have an endoscopy done, but go ahead and go on Prilosec for the 3 weeks between that last visit with her and my visit to have the endoscopy done. And so I did that, and I thought, oh, I feel great. I didn't feel bad at all. And then I started reading about Prilosec, and I thought, well, you're only supposed to take it 2 weeks. And so she said take it 3, so I'm going to just take it 2 and stop and see what happens. I was right back to feeling sick again. And so I went in, I had the endoscopy, they didn't find anything. I said to the doctor, well, I think maybe I'm getting a little better. And he goes, well, how is that? And I said, well, I'm just eating a lot less. And he goes, that doesn't sound good. So then what I did was contact you, Dr. Troy, and came to Synapse because I didn't know what was happening. I was dropping weight like I'd never dropped before, and just not feeling good.
Yeah, and one of the things I just like to point out there, whenever we have sleep problems, it will eventually lead to digestive problems as well. And so we talk a lot about that. There's an area of the brain that deals with stress and can induce what we call fight or flight, and then that same area of the brain works on rest and digest. And so as one starts to become compromised, we see the other one follow suit. And we often say, if you're stuck and you're needing help, try and focus on those 2 things. Make sure to try and improve your sleep and your digestive system, and a lot of the other things start to improve as well. So there was something else in there that you said that's one of my soapboxes, and that is Prilosec.
Mm-hmm.
I am really very perturbed at how much that gets prescribed, especially long term. And I want to really educate people on what that does. It's very, very rare to have too much stomach acid, number one. Number two, when you have low stomach acid or block it, it eventually leads to a higher body burden of acid. And so that can affect your kidneys. It can affect getting infections like yeast, candida, fungal. And so we do see a decline much later on. And now, of course, we see in the news that they've really started to pull some of those off the market because they've now got links to cancer and they're investigating it. But we know that the long-term use of that causes increased acid in the body, and that's just not good for overall well-being. Our cells don't do well in an acidic environment. So I like how you went through that process because you tried it when it came back right away. You knew something's not right, and we need to go down a different road. So when you first came here, were there any surprises as far as just some of the differences or what we focused on? What stuck out to you?
Just the different testing. I wasn't aware of how some of those techniques worked, but they did. I just went with it, and yeah, it's been really.
It can be a
good
little
results.
weird, right? When you're looking at the body as a whole, and the body gives us clues. So you're talking about some of the functional physical testing
Right.
and muscle testing
Mhm.
and some of the other things that we do here.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little different, but
Yeah.
yeah, we like results, but
Well,
it
got
gives us
results,
clues.
that's for sure. But
Yeah. So what happened right away for you? What was the first big impact as far as making some improvements?
just really realizing where I was at. You had also tested the fight and flight,
Fight or flight, yes.
Yeah. and I thought that I was stuck and needed to really concentrate on that, and started to look at what my schedule looked like, and try to make some, I mean, it was small changes. I'm a person that likes to help
Yeah.
people and fix things, and then you start to realize, you're hurting yourself more than, and it's kind of, are you enabling these people, or,
Yeah.
and so I just kind of looked at it that way, and started to make changes there, and then just followed through with your suggestions and your advice as far as eating. Nutrients are really realized how important those are. So started eating better in a way that I hadn't been before. I mean, I've dieted before and eat salads, but that
Yeah.
wasn't enough. Needed to get food that was, as you call, pure.
Yeah.
And I learned what that was about, and then just concentrating on the anxiety and stress, and then what was really big was, I don't even know if you would remember saying it, but you said 4 words that really made a difference, really made an impact when I was first in here, and you said, God is in control. And I've been a Christian for a long time, but it's just something that I knew with my head, but didn't really, I don't know if I didn't believe it, I just didn't follow through with that kind of thinking, and it was very helpful when you reminded me of that. And I repeat it a lot now.
Awesome. Yeah.
A lot, that God is in control. And it's really taught me just being here to seek God. I mean, how many places in the Bible does it say, if you seek me, you will find me, and the blessings that we can receive if we just let God do the fixing instead of ourselves.
Yes, yeah, and it ends up being a lot easier too when we just kind of get ourselves out of the way.
Right.
And what we found over the years is that you've said it beautifully, but what we found is that we all have gifts and strengths, and especially as we get further into life, sometimes our gifts and strengths can get out of control, out of balance is another way of saying it. And all of our strengths, when they're overdone, become our weaknesses. For example, someone who is supportive of others, if you over-support, you become self-sacrificing, which means you're actually doing damage to yourself by supporting too much. And so it's important, and we all go through it, especially if we are really working to serve others, where we can overdo our strengths, and then they become our weaknesses. And another example, this is not yours, but another example that people often see is when someone is confident and they become confident and overconfident, it can become arrogance, which is now the weakness. Or if someone's a good analytical, detailed thinker, they're a critical thinker, and they're analyzing and then overanalyzing, that becomes the analysis paralysis, and they don't actually get to going on stuff because they're over analytical. So, but you don't want to change who you are. You want to just reel it in a little bit, and so you start managing it and start applying scripture, which we love. When we're working with people mentally, chemically, and physically, when you can apply what's in scripture and have it be part of your routine and feel it, that's when we see healing occur. And so we love that. That's why we say, do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. Once you start to get things working again, and you reconnect the communication between mind and body, but also from body and soul to God, we start to see the healing occur. And correct me if I'm wrong, but things that might have been tough in the past become easier
Mhm.
because of that, and the stressors go down, and it's the way we're all wired.
Mhm.
So, fantastic. Was there any part of this journey that was hard for you, that where you felt like giving up, or did you do pretty well with it?
Um, as far as the regime that I was on, I did well. You know, you gave me the supplements to take, and just really concentrated on eating right, and then the meditation every morning. Boy, that's so important.
Yeah.
So,
I don't ever remember you complaining once, not once. So, just for everyone listening, that was really nice for us to experience, because that doesn't always happen. So it was a pleasure to actually work with you.
okay.
And for you, I know you have a heart to help and serve others, and that's a big part of who you are. If there was one piece of advice that you could give people, as far as maybe people who are stuck, who felt stuck like you,
Mhm.
is there one piece of advice that you could give them as far as getting their health back, getting themselves back?
Just seek out professionals like Dr. Troy. He's like great, been just great for me, and so thankful for you. And then, you know, get closer to God. I don't know. I realized that I had distanced myself and was just trying to do it, like you
Yeah.
so well put, on my own by myself. And wow, you can't do it. We live in a fallen world, and you cannot do it. We're not built to have the strength to do it on our own. We're supposed to rely on Him, and that's the best advice I mean, it works for me. It's the best advice I could possibly give.
Sounds like wisdom to me. It really does. Well, thank you very much for coming in today. We very much appreciate your time, and you've been a model example of someone who takes some guidance, but also takes responsibility for their own health and runs with it. So absolutely loved this conversation, loved working with you, and just future blessings to your health. We wish that for you and for everyone listening here, of course, as well.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate Synapse.
Yes. Thank you.